What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Former Lakers champion Robert Horry decided to speak on the Clippers or speak about them here lately. And you could read on Fox News Sports, about it. You could see the comments. You can actually see a video also about it. But, him speaking about the Clippers, I never really, get into that too much because it's more or less one of those situations that I always or that you heard me talk about before. The hatred and the every negative thing people say about the Clippers just really rubs a lot of people the wrong way who are fans of the game and who are fans of the Clippers and who knows that they're actually a good team. Now, I understand Robert Horry is a former Lakers player, so of course, he's going to ride with the team that, gave him a lot of success. And, he had success pretty much everywhere he went, with the Houston Rockets, Lakers. He's definitely been one of those guys where, everywhere he went, positivity was. So I got to give him respect and credit. He is a really good, or should I say great role player. Probably the greatest role player that might have ever lived. Maybe Robert Horry in some people's minds. He's got like 7 championships, more than Jordan. So, but of course those championships are, a little fabricated too, because, when you're on, good teams like he was, you have more or a better chance of winning rather than, losing with the teams that he played with. He played with, Olajuwon, Kenny the Jet Smith, Kobe, Shaq, he played with, Hall of Famers or, whatever you want to look at. He played very, very, very great players, very great talent. And that really helped, I think, his cause in his career a lot, so, I will give him credit for that, but he's totally wrong for this one. He says in his, speech, if you want to say, or his talk about the Clippers, that they're snake bitten. He loves Ty Lue, but, it's basically like a curse on the Clippers. Now, we all know the Clippers haven't won a championship. We all know that, the Clippers aren't, a championship caliber, or haven't been a championship caliber team throughout all these many years because they never won one. They never even, I don't know if they even made a finals, I don't believe, but they never made a finals because, up until last year before last, that was the first time them getting to a conference final. So we all know those things, but it's like I always say, the naysayers of this team really come out more when the Clippers have a little bit of an edge over the Lakers. And it's really very, very evident that it's like that because, honestly, the Clippers may not have won no championships, but Robert Horry isn't sitting there saying how many times the Clippers have dominated the Lakers over the last few years, every time they played them. But he was sitting there saying the king is in L.A. still, and the king resides in L.A., which is, LeBron James on the Lakers, respectively so. LeBron is, King James. We definitely give him that. But, the Claw is not too shabby himself. The Claw has definitely been an Achilles heel to the king, and he's one person I think the so-called king does not want to see in a 7-game series. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will back me up on that because Kawhi Leonard is LeBron James' kryptonite, and a lot of people have said it. In hell, Kenny the Jet Smith, one of Robert Horry's former teammates, actually said that, on TNT, one night when I was actually watching a basketball game where actually, I think the Lakers were playing the Clippers and the Clippers happened to beat them once again. Wow, how'd that happen? So this is my point here. We could talk about, the Lakers winning championships and all this stuff. But, honestly, the best team right now or the better team in L.A. is no doubt the Clippers. I mean, based upon what you're looking at on paper, based upon what we're looking at right now as we speak, they're the better team if you look at their roster from top to bottom. You see what I'm talking about? So now, of course, we got to see them do this in the season, play in the season and mimic it and live up to it. Of course, I definitely understand that because, you have to wait and see what the product is on the floor before you speak about what the roster looks like on paper. Because on paper, the Clippers look like the best team in the NBA, not even close to most people, or a lot of people, I should say. So when you go by that, and then let's just take it a little bit further. Last year specifically, the Clippers beat the Lakers all 4 times. 3 out of those 4 times, or at least 2 out of those 4 times, they didn't have Kawhi or PG and beat them. So, I mean, it's really not even a rivalry, to be honest with you. It's really more of like an afterthought. You see what I'm saying? When it comes between the Lakers and the Clippers, because I don't think the Lakers can beat them in a 7-game series the way they're currently constructed. As long as you got Russell Westbrook, you're not winning a championship, I don't believe. And I will say this, though, in, Lakers defense, if there's one player that can help Russell get a championship, it would be LeBron. But I think LeBron would have to be 5 to 7 years younger than what he is now in order for him to be able to do that. But if there is one player that could, I always thought it would be somebody like LeBron, because of, his way of playing and how he has, or he tries to have, a little bit more patience than some other players. And, he seems to, get the best out of a lot of teammates that he's had, throughout his time, and went to 8 or 9 straight finals. That's just overly impressive, and you can't really, dispute that. So, but the fact that LeBron couldn't do it, it just pretty much tells you where Russell Westbrook is. And he's in a spot where he is a great player, top 75 player to a lot of people, but he isn't a championship caliber player. But when you talk about the Clippers, they got championship players all up down their roster. I mean, they got a lot of championship experience coach, and they got a coach that loves to experiment and try things at times just to get the best out of all the players that's on his roster, not just some of the players on his roster. And I think that's what separates Ty Lue from a lot of other coaches. And I think that's what's going to really separate the Clippers from a lot of other teams, because not only they have Ty Lue, but they have a coach that's willing to basically try different things and get the best out of every single player on his roster, whereas most teams is pretty much an 8-man, 9-man rotation, and that's it. And that's just the way most, coaches or a lot of teams, construct their teams, but Ty Lue is liable to do anything at any point in time. And usually his exploration of his team by putting certain players in at any given time gives them experience, and it gives them confidence. And that's the reason why I think, the Clippers have the better option, they have the better advantage over a lot of other teams, because they have a coach that's willing to, implement new things to make them a better team or make them a well-rounded team. Whereas the Lakers, when you look at them right now, they got a rookie head coach, and you don't know what you're going to get out of him, because you're just not exactly sure what he has to bring to the table, because he's never coached an NBA team before, especially not a team of the magnitude of a name of a team like the Lakers. So we have to really take into account, what's right before us. I understand Robert Horry is going to ride for his team. I understand Robert Horry is always going to be a Lakers guy first. I mean, he's basically on Laker channels a lot. I get that. But at the same time, if the Clippers do pull this championship off and win it, then what is it going to be then? Is it going to be the Clippers are snake bitten, or is it going to be the Clippers were lucky, or, it's going to be some type of excuse either way from him and other Lakers fans, even if the Clippers do win it. But I'm here to tell you, the Clippers are for real. They really are. And if they can stay healthy, I mean, honestly, I don't see nobody in the West really contending with them at all. I mean, our only team in NBA right now I could say that would give them a run in a 7-game series on paper right now would have to either be, you can throw the Warriors in there because they won the championship, but hypothetically, if the Nets actually, keep their big three together and build chemistry and run with that, they would be a dangerous team for the Clippers to face in the NBA Finals. But other than that, I mean, maybe besides the Warriors, it's going to be tough for the Clippers to get to the finals. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to be easy, but they can beat every other team that you see currently constructed in a 7-game series right now. They can do that. And because no other team really has their type of versatility defensively and offensively, not even the Brooklyn Nets with their big three has that. So, I mean, and then you can throw Boston in there too. They play some good defense. So Boston definitely might be a team that, could contend. But I think the Clippers could beat them in a 7-game series. I personally think the Clippers could beat them 4-1 in a 7-game series. But that's just my personal opinion. But we say that for later. But my point is, all the naysayers that's talking against this team, you got to realize this team right now is built to do something really great. And when you hear people like Robert Horry come out and speak, he's only speaking and saying these things because he see how talented the Clippers are, and he see that they're a threat to the Lakers. They're a threat to what the Lakers are trying to accomplish, and they're a threat to actually be the kings of LA, at least for one season, going into this next upcoming season where they can possibly win the championship because they have a good enough roster to do so. So, I mean, I understand the fact that, you know, he's going to ride with his team. But like I said, I wish people would be a little bit more, you know, speak a little bit more reality instead of trying to just, you know, speak out of turn because it's not your team and it's not who you favor. If you're going to be an analyst, if you're going to be anything of that nature, you need to learn how to, you know, basically be biased to a degree. And I don't hear any biasness in a lot of these analysts when it comes to the Clippers, because they really just despise them, and they really hate the Clippers because they hate the fact that Clippers really have a better team than the Lakers. And they had a better team than the Lakers in the bubble. If you ask me, they just didn't have the chemistry. They didn't want to be there. They didn't really want that type of lifestyle for themselves while they're in the playoffs, because they're used to having freedom, doing what they want to do, and, you know, being free to play when they want to and everything. So the bubble was a different experience. But, you know, the Lakers won that. A win is a win. I don't take nothing from them. I don't. They won it regardless. There's no asterisk. But my point is, I don't think everybody should write off the Clippers or, you know, basically, you know, shut down the Clippers, you know, dreams of winning the championship, because they have a really good team. And if you're a real analyst, unlike Robert Horry, you got to be biased. You know, you can't sit there and talk about a Lakers team that didn't even make the damn play-in tournament. You know, he's talking about King James and all this stuff. What the hell is King James when he can't even make a play-in tournament with 3 top 75 players? Kawhi Leonard don't have 3 top 75 players. It's only 1 top 75 player on his team, and he wasn't even one of the players on the floor playing against the Lakers this past season in the 4 games that the Clippers played them. And the Lakers lost to the Clippers every single time last year without Kawhi Leonard, without their top 75 player. So when you look at that in its entirety, and now this team is built the way they are and got some other pieces, and some very good pieces at that, you got to give this team some credit. But I understand Robert Horry and a lot of those haters and doubters, they're not going to do that. So Clippers Nation, stand up and, you know, push the Clippers as high as possible, and let's see if they can win this championship, because I definitely think the Clippers have a great opportunity to have the last laugh. And people like Robert Horry and the other ones who are sitting there doubting, they won't be able to say much if the Clippers do find a way to win it all. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments in the comment section. Check out my other videos if you haven't. And hey, Khaliis out.